Yeah, I just wanted to say a word for science. Maybe I'm just being overly sensitive, but what I sense here is an attempt of everybody to tell philosophy and philosophers how great they are, and no attempt to do anything but diss scientists. I mean, this is maybe an exaggeration for not doing the experiments right, by doing the Levin experiment right, for not understanding cognitive research properly, and for writing books about consciousness which are bad. And yet this, I mean, maybe this is implicit in the whole conference, that science has done good stuff.
Of course.
Without, I mean, what this, to me, the whole conference has been a philosophically dominated catering to philosophy and how great it is. And I just wanted to speak up.
I was worried somebody wouldn't be contentious.
I mean, I think even Massimo said, like 90-some% of science does and should ignore philosophy, and I think that's almost uncontroversial. And that's why I tried to give my little example of a case where the philosophers clearly dropped the ball and could have done better.
Yeah. So
when they're like, well, you would have ignored us anyway, but still.
Yeah.
I mean, can we have an example maybe from a case where really some compelling mechanistic explanation of some phenomenon was generated because of an intervention by philosophy, whichever field, biology, physics, where that really changes it was game changing.
Do you count Einstein's description of special relativity and the role of Leibniz and Berkeley and Ernst Mach in his thinking? It's a pretty good example.
I think that was pretty good. Yeah. Okay.
If I'm right about quantum mechanics, it will be an example.
Yeah. Look, I think there are
those would be.
There are mainstream examples. You can't in cosmology come up with a theory which puts human beings as special without getting a lot of flack for that. I mean, this is clearly a massive shift, starting with Copernicus and onward, where it's just it's a philosophy that human beings should not be special, and it's mainstream, and it's may or may not be very deep, but it clearly it's not acceptable anymore, and to the point where string theorists and cosmologists are arguing very hard about things like the landscape, the possibility that there's multiple universes, that the only reason why the universe looks this way just happens to be because we're here asking about it. There are these sort of anthropic principles, and they are debated heavily among hardcore string theory scientists, and whether it's an acceptable program to pursue or it's a weak program to pursue, the anthropic one, for example.
And it's kind of debated badly, and maybe the philosophers could help out.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think being expected to be good at that is a fair, criterion. Just like you're expected to be good at your experiment is a fair, level at which we should uphold our work.
I think actually that goes back to David's question about how philosophy can help the scientist, or can it, ask questions, maybe not design experiments, but I think this sort of simple-minded answer is that philosophy helps us decide which questions are interesting, right?
That's one. The other one is more to the, that would help. We should be so lucky. The other one is to give an interesting account of what counts as an explanation.
Right.
That would actually really help, right? So I have my own pre-theoretical, intuitive sense of what I think a causal mechanistic explanation is in my world.
Yeah.
And I kind of make it up as a bit. I think it's, I try to convince myself that it makes sense. I postulate a set of primitives, and then I try to use the interactions between those to account for the phenomena in a sort of principled manner. Hopefully, you can even formalize
I think
it.
that's Steve Weinberg's point, that he was pointing towards a different example. But it's not that we don't use philosophy; it's that we often just use bad philosophy.
Right.
And sometimes better
we're
philosophy
lazy
is useful.
philosophically.
That's right. So that's the flavor of things that would really help out.
Let me ask a
I want to
very
get Owen and then
specific
Don.
question.
Yeah.
It's actually fascinating because sometimes, I mean, I don't think I shared Jerry Coyne's view that this is a celebration of how great philosophy is, but I do feel sort of, gee, it's like a kumbaya, at the end of this. It's wonderful. So here's a very specific question I can ask David, because I told you how I thought your work, and I think it has been taken seriously by some philosophers who work on time consciousness. I could be wrong about that. But I wanted to ask you back. You said it'd be nice if philosophers could tell you what a mechanistic explanation is. Now, there's a group, like Peter Mackamer, Carl Craver, have they had any influence? These people are the people who claim that they've got it down and they interact all the time with cognitive scientists and cognitive neuroscientists, and all they write about or Bill Bechtel. So you never heard, you heard his name. So that's just interesting, right? Because there is a group of people who claim to do this very thing, and you didn't hear about them, just as you hadn't heard about Samir Oshaka. Nor have you. So this is kind of just a feature of the intellectual division of labor that's right sort of in front of us right now.
So I want to also, your comment about it's kind of a celebratory, triumphalist philosophy fest. But that one of the things that really sort of struck me when you sent the list of questions was, these are all these are hardcore philosophical, free will, morality, reality. What else do you have there? I mean, meaning. I mean, this is the hardcore stuff. Philosophers didn't have something, a lot to say about this. And these are all philosophers who take science very, very seriously and try to absorb as much of, as the relevant science as is possible, but yet have more to say, even one would hope, than the scientists. Well, there's just no excuse for philosophy departments then. I mean, it would have to be, it seems to me, that the philosophers would have a lot to say here. This is hardcore stuff. So what they spend their entire lives thinking about.
Yeah.